The storm was fierce and it was late at night. Rain pounded on my windshield, making it hard to see the road ahead. The wipers were working overtime, but they could barely keep up with the downpour. I was driving through a remote highway, surrounded by thick woods, and my gas gauge was nearing empty. I knew I needed to find a gas station soon, or I'd be stranded in the middle of nowhere. My name is Tom, and I'm a traveling salesman in my early 40s. I've driven through all kinds of weather, but this storm was one of the worst I'd ever seen. I was wary of the dangers on the road, but I had no choice but to keep going. As I drove, I spotted a dim light in the distance. Squinting through the rain, I saw an old gas station, its flickering sign barely visible. The place looked abandoned, but I was desperate for gas. I decided to take the chance and pulled in. My tires splashing through the puddles. The gas station was surrounded by tall, dark trees, their branches swaying in the wind. The building itself looked run down with peeling paint and cracked windows. It didn't look like the kind of place I'd usually stop at, but I needed fuel to continue my journey. I honked my horn, hoping to get the attention of the attendant. After a moment, an elderly man appeared from the shadows. He was wearing a raincoat and seemed overly eager to help. His sudden appearance made me uneasy, but I brushed it off as the storm and my tiredness. "Evening," he said, his voice barely audible over the storm. "Need some gas?" "Yes, please," I replied, trying to sound calm. "I'm almost out." He nodded and quickly started refueling my car. His constant chatter and overly friendly demeanor made me uncomfortable. But I decided to wait inside the station to avoid the rain. I felt a strange sense of dread as I walked inside, the wind howling behind me. As I walked into the gas station, I was hit by a musty smell. The dim lights flickered. The place looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. The shelves were dusty, and the floor was covered in grime. I couldn't help but feel uneasy, but I told myself it was just the storm and my tiredness. The elderly man who had been refueling my car came in after me. "Name's George," he said. "Been running this place for years." "Thanks for the help," I replied, trying to be polite. His constant chatter and overly friendly demeanor made me uncomfortable. I decided to wait inside the station until my car was ready. As I stood there, I noticed a wall covered with old photographs. Curious, I walked over to take a closer look. My heart sank as I realized what I was seeing. The photos were of missing persons, all last seen in the area. There were dozens of them, dating back several decades. Each face stared back at me, a haunting reminder of their disappearance. The realization hit me hard. So many people had gone missing around here, and the thought of it made my skin crawl. The storm outside seemed to grow louder, the wind howling like a warning. My unease turned into a creeping fear. "Quite a collection, isn't it?" George's voice made me jump. He was standing right behind me, too close for comfort. "People go missing all the time in these parts. Sad, really." I forced a smile, trying to hide my discomfort. "Yeah, it's strange," I said, taking a step back. "Do you know what happened to any of them?" George shrugged, his smile not fading. "Some say they just up and left. Others think it's the woods. They can be dangerous, especially in a storm like this." I nodded. The photos, the storm, George's eerie friendliness. It all felt wrong. I needed to get out of there, but my car wasn't ready yet, and the rain was still pouring down. I turned away from the photos, trying to shake off the feeling of dread. I glanced around the station, looking for something to distract myself. There was an old phone on the counter, but it looked like it hadn't been used in years. The place was filled with junk and old supplies, giving it a ghostly atmosphere. It was like something you would see in a post-apocalyptic movie. The storm continued to rage outside, and I felt trapped. I needed to stay calm and think of a way to leave as soon as my car was refueled. The photos on the wall kept drawing my gaze, each one a silent plea for help. The more I looked, the more I felt like I was being watched. George's constant chatter faded into the background as I focused on staying calm. I couldn't let my fear get the best of me, but deep down I knew something was very, very wrong. As I stood there, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the battery icon flashing red. Great, just what I needed. My phone was about to die. I tried to send a quick message, but the screen went black. I was cut off. I turned to George, who was still hovering nearby. "Hey, do you have a place where I can charge my phone?" I asked, trying to sound casual. George's smile widened, but it looked more like a grin. "Sure thing," he said. "We've got an outlet in the back room. Follow me." I hesitated, but with no other choice, I decided to follow him. George led me through a narrow hallway to a small cluttered room at the back of the station. The air was thick and musty, and the only light came from a single flickering bulb. On an old, dusty table, I spotted a phone charger. "Here you go," George said, pointing to the charger. "Make yourself at home." I plugged in my phone and waited for it to power up. As I stood there, I noticed something strange. The floor and walls had deep scratch marks, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. My unease turned into real fear. Just then, George's demeanor shifted. He moved closer, blocking the exit. His friendly smile was gone, replaced by a menacing look. "So, Tom," he said, his voice low and threatening, "where are you headed? Got any family waiting for you?" I felt trapped. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized I needed to get out of there. "Just passing through," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I should probably get going. George didn't budge. "Not so fast," he said. "You've got time. Let's chat a bit more." I glanced around the room looking for an escape. That's when I noticed a hidden door in the corner. It was slightly ajar, and I could hear faint muffled cries coming from below. My blood ran cold. I had to find a way out. "Actually, I think I left something in my car," I said, edging towards the hidden door. George's eyes followed me, but I moved quickly. I yanked the door open and stumbled down a set of narrow stairs. In the dim light, I found a trap door with a lock. Panic surged through me, but I spotted a shelf nearby with a bunch of old keys. I grabbed a handful and frantically tried each one until I found the right one. The lock clicked open, and I lifted the door. Inside, I found a small dark room with evidence of previous captives, chains, old clothes, and the unmistakable smell of fear. The realization hit me hard. I wasn't the first person George had trapped here. I crawled through the basement window, my hands and knees sinking into the muddy ground outside. The rain was still pouring, making it hard to see and even harder to move. But I had to get out of there. I pushed myself up and started running towards my car, my heart pounding in my chest. Behind me, I could hear George shouting. He had discovered my escape and was chasing after me. The fear gave me an extra burst of speed, and I reached my car just as George got close. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking, but finally managed to unlock the door and jump inside. George pounded on the window, his face twisted in anger, but I didn't waste a second. I turned the key in the ignition and the engine roared to life. I slammed the car into gear and hit the gas, spraying mud as I sped away from the gas station. My adrenaline was pumping, giving me the strength to flee. I didn't look back until I was a safe distance away. The gas station and George's dark figure faded into the distance, swallowed up by the storm. I kept driving, my hands gripping the wheel tightly, my mind racing with what had just happened. Even though I was now safe, the memory of the gas station and the photographs haunted me. The realization of how close I came to being trapped was overwhelming. I couldn't stop thinking about the other people who might not have been as lucky as I was. When I finally reached a nearby town, I pulled into a well-lit parking lot and grabbed my phone. With shaking hands, I called the police and reported everything: George, the gas station, the missing persons photos, and the basement room. The officers on the other end took my report seriously and assured me they would investigate immediately. As I hung up the phone, a wave of relief washed over me, but the fear lingered. The night had been a close call, and I knew it would take time to fully process what had happened. I sat in my car, listening to the rain, thankful to be alive and safe. In the days that followed, the police kept me informed about their investigation. They revealed that George had been luring unsuspecting travelers to his gas station for years, using stormy nights to his advantage. The missing persons on the wall were his victims. It was chilling to think how many lives he had ruined. Reflecting on the experience, I understood the real danger I had been in. I felt incredibly grateful for my quick thinking and instincts that helped me escape. The thought of what could have happened if I hadn't noticed the hidden door or the scratch marks still sent shivers down my spine. I decided to keep in touch with the police, offering any help I could as they continued their investigation. I wanted to ensure George was caught and couldn't hurt anyone else. The officers appreciated my willingness to stay involved, and it gave me a sense of purpose after such a terrifying ordeal. Resuming my travels wasn't easy. The experience had left me shaken, and I found myself more cautious than ever before. I was hyper-aware of my surroundings, especially when stopping at remote places. Every old gas station or deserted road reminded me of that night. But despite the fear, I also felt a newfound gratitude for my instincts and quick thinking. They had been my lifeline that night, guiding me to safety. I knew I would never take them for granted again. Life slowly returned to normal, but I carried the lessons of that night with me. I remained vigilant, always ready to trust my gut if something didn't feel right. And while the memory of the stormy night and the abandoned gas station would always be a part of me, I felt stronger knowing I had faced danger and survived. Every time I hit the road, I reminded myself to be careful and to appreciate the moments of safety and clarity. The experience left me more vigilant, but also more appreciative of the calm after the storm.